Have you ever really sat down and asked yourself why some people seem to have a secret superpower that activates the moment they hit rock bottom? Why is it that when most people face a crushing failure, they tuck their dreams into a drawer and call it quits, while someone like Angelina Jolie, or perhaps a fighter you've admired, rises from the ashes of absolute catastrophe, forcing the entire world to stop and stare in awe? Let's be brutally honest with each other for a second. Where are you in your life right now? Are you stuck in the middle of a crisis so deep you feel like there's no way out? Is it a situation that shattered your ego, or a failure that has kept you wide awake staring at the ceiling for nights on end? I want you to understand something vital. What you are feeling right now is not the end of your story. In fact, it is exactly the point where your real life begins. It is the golden, painful moment that has the potential to forge you into something unbreakable. We all have this polished image of Angelina Jolie in our heads, the superstar who glides across red carpets, seemingly untouchable, someone who has everything and whom nothing can stop. But what if I told you that behind those cinematic smiles, there is a woman who has stood on the precipice of total collapse more times than you can count? She has been terrified, she has wept in isolation, and she has felt the weight of a world judging her every move. But she possessed a secret weapon that most people never bother to acquire. She learned the art of becoming friends with her own pain. Are you ready to dive into that with me? Are you ready to strip away the facade and discover how she turned the darkest chapters of her life into an impenetrable armor? Before we go any further, if you are truly exhausted from going in circles, from feeling like life is just a series of setbacks, and if you are genuinely hungry for that inner fire to finally ignite, then you need to hit that follow button and turn on those notifications right now. We are building something different here, and you don't want to miss the roadmap we're creating together. Many people fall into the trap of believing that to be a successful icon, like Jolie, you have to be flawless, a person who never makes a mistake and always has it all together. But the raw truth is that she didn't find her strength in spite of her flaws, she found it because of them. During one of the most tumultuous periods of her life, when the media was feeding on her choices and it felt like the entire world was conspiring to tear her down, she could have easily retreated. She could have stayed in the shadows, let the victimhood consume her, and vanished. But she made a bold, dangerous choice. She chose action over rumination. She realized that failure is not a permanent tattoo on your soul, it's a tuition fee. It's the price you pay to gain the wisdom you couldn't have learned any other way. She began stepping into arenas where everyone expected her to fail, from high-stakes humanitarian missions in the most dangerous corners of the globe to demanding roles that required her to be emotionally vulnerable in ways that were frankly terrifying. She taught herself that if you want to expand your capacity for greatness, you have to be willing to grow through the friction of pain. What do you think she told herself in those moments when she wanted to quit? She told herself that the suffering was simply the price of her evolution. You are standing in that exact same spot right now, reading these words. Everything that is making you feel small or broken is actually the very material you are using to build a bigger version of yourself. I need to ask you, have you ever dared to ask yourself what is waiting on the other side of your biggest fear? There is a version of you, a version with incredible resilience, that is waiting to be born. But it requires you to stop coddling your own excuses and start facing the mirror. Let's go deeper. I know you're tired of the shallow, motivational fluff that doesn't actually help when you're in the trenches. When Angelina Jolie was at her lowest, she didn't just read books to find a quick fix. She engaged in radical action. She understood that the more time you spend dwelling on a failure, the larger and more monstrous that failure becomes in your mind. She started doing things that scared her. She embraced the discomfort because she realized that if you are afraid, it means you are dancing on the edge of a new capability. My friend, why are you afraid? What exactly are you losing? If I told you that life is just a grand game, a simulation designed to make you fail over and over so you can sharpen your edge, would you still be taking this so seriously? Would you still be letting the opinions of strangers dictate your worth? Jolie taught us that real life doesn't happen when the red carpet is rolled out and the cameras are flashing. Real life happens in the silence of the night, when you are fighting your way out of the storm, and nobody is there to give you a standing ovation. You have to be your own hero. Remember, every time you've been knocked down and you pulled yourself back up, you added a new layer to your internal steel. You are already infinitely stronger than you were a year ago, You just haven't recognized it yet because you've been too busy looking at what you lack rather than what you've survived. It's easy to look at others and think they have it easier, that they have a secret map or a shortcut that you were never given. But I want you to know a hidden truth. Every single person you admire walked through their own version of hell. None of them had a guidebook. They were all walking in the dark, carving a path with trembling hands. Angelina Jolie was no different. She learned to stop looking for validation from the outside and started seeking truth from the inside. She learned that instead of letting the world dictate her trajectory, she would take the wheel, even while the waves were threatening to shatter her ship. You have that exact same power, but you've been keeping it locked inside a cage you labeled, "I can't." Who told you that you can't? That voice in your head, the one that whispers, "You're not good enough," is your greatest enemy. It is a parasite that feeds on your potential. You have to silence it by acting in spite of it. After this video ends, I want you to do one thing, just one thing, that you've been putting off because you're scared. When you execute that action, that fear, which was once a giant, will shrink into nothingness. This is the secret of the greats. They aren't superhuman. They are simply the people who learned to move while their hearts were pounding out of their chests. Do you know what actually kills a person faster than anything else? It's not failure, it's regret. Failure is just an event. Regret is a choice, it's the choice to never even try. Angelina Jolie never allowed regret to take the driver's seat. Even when she made mistakes, she stood tall and owned them. "Yes, I messed up, and here is what I learned." That is maturity. That is the definition of power. When you reach that level of clarity, where the opinions of others become background noise and you are laser focused on your own internal expansion, that is when you become unstoppable. Failure stops being a label and starts being a tool. I know you can do this, because the mere fact that you are still listening to this means you are seeking transformation. Most people have already given up. They are comfortable in their stagnation. But you are different. You have that flicker of defiance in your eyes. You have the guts to want more. Even if your wings are still wet and you aren't ready to soar yet, you are learning to flap. Keep going. You have to make a pact with yourself right now. Never, under any circumstances, allow yourself to stop. Now that we've come this far, I have a question for you that might just rewire your entire perspective. If you knew with 100% certainty that on the other side of this struggle, you would become the most formidable version of yourself, how much pain would you be willing to endure? How many comforts would you sacrifice to get there? Angelina Jolie showed us that nothing of true value is ever given to you for free. You have to pay for it with sweat, tears, sleepless nights, and the shedding of your old, weak habits. That is the price of growth. You are currently paying that price, so stop looking at it like a burden and start looking at it like an investment. Keep moving forward with pride. You aren't alone in this. We are building a movement here, a tribe of people who refuse to settle, who demand more from their existence. If this hit home, if you felt that shift in your core, then hit that follow button and drop a comment below. Tell me about the greatest challenge you faced, the one that forced you to become someone new. I read every single one of those stories, and I want to hear yours. We are going to navigate this together. It is never too late to start over. Tomorrow morning, wake up and be a different person, a person who knows that failure is just the prologue to a legendary success. You are the protagonist of your own life story, so stand up, straighten your shoulders, and live in a way that forces the world to take notice. Stay tuned for our next session, because we aren't just here to survive, we are here to conquer, to evolve, and to thrive on our own terms. Thank you for staying until the end. You are truly extraordinary.